Awesome. Now tell me about your the conditions, first of all, for leaving your old job and moving into this one. I was reviewing your survey results, but like kind of just some more context and then tell me about your new job
So,
too.
yeah, so just real quick, like I said to put you in my notes, 28 years experience in public education, all in Massachusetts. Started off as a high school teacher, then became an assistant principal and then a principal. And I think we as educators all go into the profession, not for the money by any means, but for the rewarding experience of being able to watch students develop and grow and have a passion and desire for their learning. And I experienced that all the way through for my 28 years. I was fortunate to be able to work in a school district in the town that I lived in. I also had my two daughters go through middle school and high school with me as their administrator. So again, that was another factor to the rewarding, very rewarding piece. And it was a very small community, nice home feel, very close knit. Loved the district I was in. And then COVID hit. And I really think that that was the biggest changing turning point for me. Just it became, and again, it was lots of people everywhere. So, I can't blame the town or the school district by any means, but it was just the public education in general and the time for a change that, I had time to be reflective, and it was just something that I wanted more. I wanted something different. I did apply for my superintendent licensure, and I started going in that pathway. Started looking into school districts as an assistant superintendent. And then it really started to kind of hit me about work-life balance. And, I needed some more me time and, but also find something that was equally as rewarding. So I left being a high school principal in the summer of 2021. And my first stepping stone was to go back to the classroom. So I went back to teach and I went and taught middle school French. I feel like the opportunity was like there for me in the moment. It was in maternity leave, so I was a long-term sub, but it was exactly what I needed. I needed something that just revived my passion and revived that feeling for me. I was terrified because I had been out of the classroom for, I don't know, 13 something years at least. Um, but I loved it, and going and doing middle school was fantastic. Got to travel to Canada, did lots of things with the kids. But in the meantime, I knew it was only a long-term sub position and I needed to figure out my next career move. And I happened to see on LinkedIn that there was a deputy director position. I looked at the skill set, which I outlined a little bit about the skills, but I threw my name in the hat, and here we are. So I've been on the job for about 7 months now
Mm-hmm.
as deputy director of inmate training and education for the Massachusetts Department of Corrections.
What does the day-to-day of that job kind of look like?
So for the most part, I'm housed at what they refer to as the central office, which is right at the headquarters. So most of my team is located there, but we have 15 facilities across the state of Massachusetts. When I refer to facilities, those are the prisons. And we have schools in each of the prisons, and we have principals, and we have classroom teachers. So I manage and I oversee the manager of curriculum. We have a new virtual education team that we're in the process of forming right now. I oversee that, as well as all of the principals and the teachers. So the majority of my day is spent like a superintendent, making sure all the parts are moving, looking at the budget. What do we need to spend for this fiscal year and start planning for next fiscal year? I plan all the professional development, all of my monthly meetings with the principals. I tour as often, as frequently as I can. I get out to the facilities and I can be in the classrooms observing. I don't get to do that as much as I would like. And I think that's similar to like a high school principal or a superintendent. You want to be out and about and seeing the good work that's going on. but I get there as much as I can. You know, when I first started, I was able to get out to 2 schools per week,
Oh,
which
wow.
I was hoping to get to, but we're so spread out all over the place. So it's really difficult. And then the job requires you to be back at central office, taking care of a lot of the immediate needs. So, but day to day meetings, Zoom meetings, phone calls, troubleshooting, a lot of data analysis, although we did just hire a data analyst. So I'm thrilled to have her as part of the team. She starts this week.
Mhm.
Um, and like I said, this new launch for the virtual platform has been huge. I started in August, and back in October, we started a massive tablet rollout. So we just deployed, we have 5,500 inmates in total. And we just deployed 5,000 tablets across the state of Massachusetts. So just like we did back, I don't know, 10 years ago or so in the public sector, rolling out a one-to-one initiative has been a major task. And they really have relied heavily on the education staff to be the ones to really, go one by one to one with the inmates and in the cell blocks to teach them how to use the tablets, what applications they have available to them. It doesn't have any internet capability, but they're all enrichment and educational platforms such as
Sorry
TED Talks.
to interrupt. My son's school is calling. Just hold on. I'm gonna
Yep,
pause.
go ahead. Okay. If there's anything that you need to go deal with, feel free if you need to
No,
reschedule.
no, it's okay. It's I have a 17-year-old and that was one of his teachers. So
Okay, all good.
yeah.
So I don't even remember what we were
You were
saying.
talking about the day-to-day and how like essentially with what you do, you oversee all the different spaces and you'd like to get to the different places, the different buildings more frequently than you do, and trying to figure out how best to help. You were talking about the one-to-one though, with
The
different
tablet
apps.
rollout. Yeah, so that's been a huge project. So we partnered with a company called APDS, and they're the ones who do most of the tablets in the correctional facilities across the United States. Um, and again, we went to each of the facilities one by one to units to teach them how to use this. And then it's really been a huge task to educate our staff on the platform. We have curriculum that's already built into it. It's really nice because then we have consistency for all of our courses and classes with the content. Before
What
we were
kinds of programs? So like, I mean, is it like GED high school equivalency? Is it
exactly.
college stuff, or is it also
So
career
So we
technical?
do, our main focus for our teachers is what we consider the adult basic education um, spectrum. So our focus is to try to get any of the inmates who don't have a high school diploma to get them to pass it. In Massachusetts right now, it's called the high set exam or the GED. It's the same as the diploma, the equivalency exam. But we also do post-secondary. So we have partnered with colleges such as BU, BC, Emerson, MIT, and several others, many of the community colleges. So we also handle the post-secondary programming. We also have vocational programming. So through the tablets, we are able to offer lots of different opportunities for hybrid education, virtual teaching, et cetera. This is all brand new. It's in the last like 4 months.
Sounds
So it's
amazing.
been a huge task. And then just trying to obviously familiarize myself with the curriculum. There's a program called Essential Education, and it's very differentiated for each of the learners. And so that's perfect because then the teachers have the lessons already created for them, specific to the individuals. So we really do like it. And then we have a platform called Brightspace. So our teachers can create their own content, their own material, and upload it to the learning management system. And then it can be shared out. So that's what we've been spending the last 4 months doing, is really a lot of curriculum planning and development, and then the execution of how to launch this in each of the facilities. And again, our focus before the tablets was educating those who were in the education like pathway, and they get tested when they enter into the facility to determine what pathway they're going to go on. But now our task through the commissioner is that we need to educate all inmates. We need to be pushing out education to all through these tablets. And so that's been challenging. So we don't have to enroll them into our courses, but we're pushing out the opportunities for them, and they can actually get different certifications, such as OSHA or Serve Safe or many of the others.
So how is
Yeah.
teaching in this environment different than maybe a classroom environment? Like, why would a teacher who leaves a traditional institution want to come work for the Department of Corrections?
So last night, or it might have been early this morning, I actually just, I think reposted an article on LinkedIn that I read, and it's just talks about how a lot of these learners didn't have positive schooling experiences growing up, and so they have a negative attitude in their minds coming in. But then when they realize, and I think it's a lot of what you talk about, that the traditional assessments are not there, and a lot of the pressures are not there. It's a lot of group work and conferencing, and a lot of the things that we talk about is some good strategies now in education. That's what schooling is like behind the walls, and it is different, and they see it as a privilege, so they want to be there. They want to better themselves. They have nothing but time. They don't have cell phones. They don't have internet. So education is what's keeping their minds active and busy. And everything we do is to reduce recidivism. And we don't want them to come back and reoffending. So, the classroom setting looks traditional. We have, looks like a regular schoolhouse with the classroom set up with a smart board, typically about 10 inmates in a classroom, 10 students in a classroom. Many times they won't be doing actual tablet work in class. They would be assigned that back at their in their cell blocks, but traditional pen and paper conversations. Their attention span is a lot longer. They can sit in a classroom for 2 hours and be engaged the entire time, because it's something to keep their minds active and going. So there's a lot of positives to it. Small class setting, no assessments, very laid back. There's security everywhere. It's a separate space from the regular setting. And you have learners that want to be there, truly want to be there, and they lose their opportunity if they act out in any way.
Wow. Yeah, it's got to have pros for sure. I mean, in a lot of ways. And I know from working with a lot of adults in general, teaching adult learners is different than teaching teenagers who don't necessarily, they're not hardwired to appreciate the things we're doing for them at that time.
Correct.
Sure.
Yeah. But I think that making it privilege versus mandatory is big, and you see a huge difference. So I find the teachers are a lot less stressed. They have to work an 8-hour day, no matter what. But their day is structured very different than the regular school day. They have a typical school calendar, slightly like a week or 2 off from the regular public school calendar. That way, well, there's lots of positives to that.
I mean, is it a year-round calendar though? No.
For the most part, but they all have July and the first week or 2 of August off, which is a little frustrating because of the way we have to unenroll them out of classes, even though they're continuing with their classes when they come back in August. So it just is almost like a pause. But yeah, our teachers have a very similar school calendar to the public schools. And then they do a lot of common planning time together. Most of their day is spent, them talking about the teachers, spent planning their lessons and sharing materials. And again, with this new curriculum that we've just introduced to them, it's new for them all. So they're just trying to, find their way through it and work with each other. So a lot of time for planning is spent.
Do they need a special certification or license to teach?
We do require that they have a Massachusetts teaching certification. That is a requirement. It doesn't have to be a specific content area. So, I have found that anywhere between the K-12 gamut, it works, especially if anybody has any special ed background. I find anyone in the elementary world can fit and adapt really nicely because you are teaching a little bit of, little math, science, social studies, and you're rotating that within the 2 hour block of time, where the, high school teachers are much more content specific. And I can actually see us moving in that direction in the future. I think we will start to specialize a little bit more. We really haven't had time to focus on that just yet. Maybe
Sure.
with our virtual team, we'll be able to dive into that a little bit more. But for now, everybody does a little bit of everything. So you have to have flexibility for sure. At any given time, everybody they call it stop movement for whatever reason. Somebody didn't stand for a count or whatever, and everything was shut down, and they can't come to class. Or something happened and it could be a week or two and they can't come to class.
Would
As
the
an
teacher get
as a
information about why they're not coming, or?
Not always, because sometimes there's an investigation of some sort going on. So
Gotcha.
many times they won't be able to tell you. And so, teachers have to report to work and they are there in their planning room and they're working on planning until they're told to go back to their classes. So sometimes you do wait, and I've seen that happen already. One of the things as an administrator that is nice, makes my life so much easier, is that when we have to cancel a class because a teacher is out sick, we don't have to get subs and worry about that. You just cancel the class. If it's going to be for an extended period of time, we will pick up the caseload. We'll shift the caseload with other teachers. We really don't have subs. That is something that we've started to look into. One of the things with the tablet rollout that we've brought forward is flexible scheduling. So if it works better and teachers would prefer, instead of working 8 to 4, they could work 12 to 8. And they could do that 2 days a week if we needed to, or we wanted to. We would ask volunteers to do it. There are some people that would prefer that schedule. So having a flex schedule is definitely something that we've been experimenting with, and some of the teachers really like that. We also started adding in nighttime contracts. So it's a way for our teachers to pick up some extra money on the side where they can work 3 hours. Well, actually, we do a total of 10 hours per week, but they can figure it out however they want during their schedule. It could be a weekend or weeknights from 6 to 9 to get their hours in, but they can pick up some extra contract work that way.
How do you typically recruit the teachers that come in?
So we've been using School Spring, and we plan to be posting several positions in the next month. We also have a recruiting department for the entire Department of Corrections, and they go out to all the local colleges. They've started to go to some of the high schools to do some of their like job fairs they've gone to. I actually was able to attend one of the college roundtables recently in my local area, and it was perfect because they produce a lot of educators. So I was able to meet some of the really young people looking to get in, and it's terrifying. The thought of working with prisoners behind the walls can be terrifying, but when you can see someone that is living it and can break it down for you and explain, kind of just take down some of the walls that are there, no pun intended, just, it's not that bad, and I have been met with nothing but complete respect from each of the students as I've engaged with them in the classes.
To be honest with you, I have friends who used to work at Rikers in New York and have had very positive things to say about feeling safe while they're there and feeling very motivated to be around their students in that environment. So I think there is a misconception about safety and a lot of other things about working in corrections institutions. But I have to imagine, like, if I were to go back now into a classroom, I think that there's something extraordinarily rewarding about working with people whose lives you have a real capacity to impact in a positive way and help them have something to look forward to when they get out, like now you have a skill set that you could kind of take with you and do
Yeah.
when you leave.
And two things to that point. One, watching the excitement when we were giving them the tablet. A lot of them thought they were going to get internet or be able to do YouTube videos
Right.
or FaceTime or whatever. None of that. But when we explain to them what they can do, and that, they have ebook library and they have Collaborate and they have all these different TED Talks, like something that's exciting. And now we have all the data to show how much time they're spending on these enriching activities. It's just amazing. To me, that's been a huge reward. And again, just seeing them excited about it. And some of the inmates had never even touched a tablet or laptop because they've been there for so long, have never used a cell phone. So teaching them the technology, just how to use the keyboard to
Mhm.
sign in, or it was, a challenge for some, but they're embracing it quite well. And the second piece of that was knowing that many of them want to get their high school diploma or equivalency so that they can start taking the college classes, which are all provided by the universities. It's not our tax-paying money, but the universities, there's associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, and they can earn the full boat while they're there. That's also been amazing.
Do they have to pay for it?
Nope. Well,
That's
and
great.
we're working right now with the Pell Grant too. So that's another big initiative, working with the Pell Grant. But no, the universities, for most part, are giving the degrees, but they have to. And I mean, I've attended the graduations, a few graduations already. Emerson put a beautiful one on at one of our facilities, and I was so impressed. We had 4 speakers. They'd all gone through Toastmasters for public speaking,
Amazing. Yeah.
and I was just blown away at the progress. And every one of I think we had 20 Emerson professors attend to the graduation, and every single one of them said, "We don't water down our curriculum." Every single one of these gentlemen have done the entire rigor level of all the courses. They've deserved it and they've earned it. And watching their families there and just how proud, like they've worked hard,
It's a
and
shame to think that people would assume that because they're inmates, they're somehow less intelligent in a
oh
lot
gosh,
of ways. You know what I mean? That's not the truth at all.
no.
So, like, if they get a degree from Emerson, good on them. I mean,
Yeah.
a pretty rigorous institution, and to have access to that is amazing.
Mhm.
Um,
MIT just put in a program that a turnkey program that we learned about from California. I'm going to forget the name of the institution in California, but it's a coding program, and it's a 6-month program. And I mean, it's a turnkey. They have a facilitator coming in, and they're going to be able to get jobs. They have to be like a certain amount of months out before release, but
right.
they're going to be lined up with jobs. Our vocational programs are aligned. One of our automotive programs is aligned with General Motors. So they're already in their database working on the curriculum that General Motors would expect to be when they're training them, when they're coming out, so that they can, be set up with a career when they leave. So
That's amazing.
it's rewarding. That's the bottom line. I think that's one of the focus areas for, I think, with what you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
There is life outside of public education. If you get to that point, and that's why I was hoping to just speak with you in person. There
Yeah.
is life outside of there, and you have the skill set that are transferable in lots of areas.
You just answered my last question. Like when I thought about this idea, much of your story really lines up with why I wanted to do this project, because so many educators since COVID have really started to experience fatigue in the classroom because of the other challenges that have come up because of COVID. That, I don't know that every classroom teacher is even a little aware of alternatives outside of the school building, that their skill set really makes them,
Mhm.
ready to do without too much additional learning. And what I really hope to do is provide options. Like,
Mhm.
here are other educators who left a school-based job and went into industry in some way, and this is what it could look like. And there's no one right road. It really just depends on, what matters to you right now and what aspect of your career you'd like to explore. And,
And it can be terrifying.
oh, it is.
Terrifying. I mean, when I ever mention it to my husband and my family, they're like, what? No, that's crazy. Are you insane? And I'm like, why not? Why not? So yeah, it can be terrifying, but take the leap of faith and trust that you've got the skills. And we're looking at teachers that have come from public education, and they're doing a phenomenal job. They're adjusting and adapting. They have so much to offer to us. Um, we're bringing in professional development that we've never brought in before. The virtual platform, I mean, I'm really excited. We're developing 2 studios, and we're going to be teaching out of the studios, so synchronous and asynchronously. And I just cannot wait to get that launched. So
Sounds amazing. I mean, honestly, there sounds like a lot of really awesome, innovative things going on. And I think anytime you're making a career shift away from something as traditional and consistent and stable as a classroom teaching position, or even a school-based leadership position, or some other school-based position, there's a certain amount of insecurity that you'll experience, just because it's a risk to leave before you're fully vested, or whatever your circumstance is in your state. I know
Can I
that
add
when
one more piece to that?
sure, please.
One of the things that I did learn, obviously, before accepting the position is that, and this is specific for Massachusetts, but my entire Massachusetts
Please.
teacher retirement rolled right over to the state side.
Amazing. Yep.
And, they said that they do this all the time. They said if I wanted to go back to the public side, that it just would roll right back over. They said we do this all the time. So,
And that's much better than New York, I'll tell you.
oh, really?
When I left New York City public schools to go into a Long Island district where I was a leader, the state system and the city system did not speak to each other very well, which makes almost no sense given
That's too bad.
the fact that so many people, I imagine, go from one to the other and back again. And I did. I went from city to Long Island, back to the city, back to Long Island. And every time you move, every time you move, you have to move your money yourself and kind of take care of all that. I'm hoping that in the future that New York City New York State kind of gets their act together in that regard, in terms of how to have those kinds of systems speak to each other, so it's not a huge lift on the person who's moving. But it's awesome if it's still your retirement is still supported by the job that you're in.
Yep.
So
Well, I hope I was able to be helpful in some way.
yes, you were, absolutely.